I wanted to talk about the idea of winning by getting a full agreement in a mediation. I wrote this note on a day that I had two full agreements, which is fairly rare, actually. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stakes that a mediator has in a mediation and reasons maybe to set some of those personal needs or things aside in an effort to do what's best for the situation or for the parties. So when you're a mediator, you are neutral, and it's really cool because in most things in life, you don't really get to be neutral. But you still have a stake in the mediation. Some of the stakes in mediation can be your reputation as a mediator or as a neutral. It could also be, if you do private mediation, you have a financial stake. And so you might feel pressured to come to full agreements because that's what's seen maybe as doing a complete or a good job or being successful. That's not my experience as a mediator. And that's something I think I had to maybe unlearn from our very adversarial society who is a little obsessed with fighting and winning. So let's talk a little bit about, I had written down in my notes, it's a mediation, not a manipulation. So a really good baseline for mediators is if you can feel yourself trying to push one party's agenda or the other, especially unequally, that's a sign of manipulation, and you might be focused on getting an agreement. And so to check yourself on that, to make sure that you're really listening to the parties and representing whoever is in the room as equitably as possible. Okay? There are some instances where an agreement is actually a very bad thing. And in my practice, I work in the court system a lot. You know, if parties are very unequal, one party has far more power than the other, you're probably going to want to end the mediation and send it to a decision maker. Particularly if the person with more power is really trying to take advantage objectively, you're going, wow, that's not really what most cases settle out as. And that comes with time mediating, kind of being able to judge what that is. But oftentimes it's pretty apparent that there's a power imbalance. And so, right, it's really not about winning. In that case, it's really not about you. It's about the parties being able to have an equitable opportunity to be treated fairly. And so, right, in those cases, you're sending it on down the line. It's not a fail. It's just we can't do this in mediation. This wasn't a case to be mediated. And sometimes you can get that, you can find that out ahead of time and stop in private work. Sometimes if mediation is mandated, meaning coming to mediation isn't voluntary, but any agreements are, you can find out in the mediation that this just doesn't seem to be a case for mediation. And that's okay, and that's something that happens, I don't want to say a lot, but enough to make it common. Sometimes you just need more time. You need more time, the parties need more time, and I'm going to take a peek at my notes because I'm used to doing that. So, right, the case just has a lot of detail. And sometimes, too, when there's and oftentimes there's a set mediation time, or the negotiation fatigue is real, everybody. And so, right, mediating for 7 hours is something that a normal human usually can't do. Sometimes time pressure is good because if people get tired, maybe sometimes those walls will break down and some of those interests, those hidden interests will come out. But oftentimes it's just really taxing. And so the idea is you didn't not resolve the case or the issue. You just need more time or some space. Maybe parties need to go think about some new information. Maybe they need to go get some information. Oftentimes when I mediate, there are missing, or I call them moving parts or missing pieces, that you really can't continue unless you have that information. And so it's a good time to put a pin in it. Oftentimes I use either interim or partial agreements, meaning maybe let's get down what we think or the parts that we do have down, And I think that's a good lesson in, educating people as far as mediation. Even if you're able to address, there's 10 issues and you address 3, that's 3 less issues that you have to address. It doesn't have to be a sum total game. It can be a game of downs, to use a football analogy. Okay? So those are some of the ways as a mediator to check yourself if you're looking to win. Because winning is doing a good job facilitating, making good choices for the parties and yourself as a mediator.